Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A man, no rains on the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A man, no rains on the track.
So am I crazy when I say like this could possibly wind up being the story of the year this year, right?
Well, can we introduce what the story is, JD?
Well, I'm warming up. I'm freaking hyping it up. I mean, like, quite frankly, if you listen to this show, it is. But I mean, like,
yeah. I think we lost JD there for a sec. So, Kazuchika Okada, the top star of New Japan for over a decade at this point, has decided that he's going to be leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. And where he goes, nobody knows at this point. I think Fightful came out with a story just a little bit ago on Fightful Select, and they said they did a whole long paragraph, or I guess it was like a few paragraphs. It was like a 2.5 minute read, and the conclusion they came up with was they don't know where he's going either. So. So they did this whole story and did not really identify where they think he was going. I think JD's feet is broke. He'll be back, which is fine. I think that Tony Khan, and I'm gonna go to his Twitter account. Tony Khan seems a bit cocky about something. He's got like this aura of confidence about him, which you typically get out of a billionaire, but he seems to think that he's got a big coup, and I want to talk about it. And could it be Okada? I don't know. I'll let you guys be the judge. I'm getting ready to pull up his Twitter feed now. Let's see here, and then I will present it. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Sorry for those of you that are listening to this. This is bad radio, but earlier today, about 7 hours ago, Tony Khan tweets, "It's going to be an amazing 2024." And then he tagged AEW with an exclamation point. And then after that, he put out this meme. It says, "My name is my name." I don't know what that is reference to. I don't know what that means. So you guys have to smarten me up on that deal. But I think, what could he be talking about? Could he be talking about Mercedes? Could he be talking about a TV deal? Or could he be talking about Okada? I find it interesting that he put those tweets out earlier in the day, and then later in the day, the Okada news breaks that Okada is in fact leaving New Japan. Now, it had come out in the Observer, I think like 2 months ago, it had come out in the Observer that WWE was interested, but it's like, of course they're interested. And these, New Japan deals, they're not really long-term deals, a lot of them. But he was a guy that they'd had for a while, and WWE was, at least stated that they were interested, and of course they're interested. Why wouldn't they be interested? But we never really put anything into it. I know JD and I talked about this story probably a month ago. I think we did it, and we kind of both come to the conclusion that we did not think that Okada would be oh, JD's back. We didn't think that Okada would actually leave because, a lot of these New Japan contracts come out, they come due, and then they leak it to the media that they're coming due, and then it gets leaked to the media that WWE has interest. And then typically, not a whole lot happens. But as we've seen lately, Jay White and Will Ospreay both left. They went to AEW. In 2016, Shinsuke Nakamura went to WWE, and so did AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. So anything could happen. JD, while you were gone, I pulled up Tony Khan's tweets where he seems to be pretty confident and pretty excited for something big happening in 2024. And could that be a reference to this?
Could be. Because here's my question to the timing of these tweets. Were they made after the announcement or before the announcement? Because I think that kind of matters.
The first tweet was 7 hours ago, so before, and he stated, and I quote, because I have it. Never mind, I don't have it up anymore. But he said it's going to be an exciting 2024 for AEW. I thought that was just in reference to the ratings, because the ratings news hadn't come out yet. I figured he had gotten them early, and then all of a sudden it gets released, and then he tweets about it the whole day, about how great the ratings were. They were number one for the night, and it was the highest rated show they had done since Grand Slam, and yada yada yada. Which, don't worry, guys, we're going to get to AEW's success of this week. But now that the Okada news is coming, I was like, maybe this brother was talking about Okada.
What couple tweets, right?
What's that?
He had a couple tweets, right? It wasn't just the one. It was a few, right?
No,
it was just the one.
It was just the one, and it was follow up with a meme that said, "My name is my name," which I don't know what that's in reference to.
I don't know what that means, and I feel like I'm close enough to Tony Khan and age, and I work with kids where I should know what that means, but I do not. So he seems pretty confident. I know we were talking to our mutual friend who goes nameless, who and I think when we heard the news, we all thought the same thing. Sorry, by the way, my internet is being a real pain in the ass tonight, and I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. As JD's complaining about his internet, it goes out again. so tonight could be a fun one. I might actually just text JD the link really quick, so that way he can just call in on his cell phone. I think that's what we're gonna do. So, but you know, my thing is that what I don't want to do is I don't want to predict WWE, because I always predict WWE, and I have been wrong so many times lately about who WWE is going to be signing. They at one point we thought they would be signing Matt Cardona, then there was FTR, and then there was all kinds of different names that I had predicted they would sign. Mercedes Moné, which that's still up in the air. But I think WWE is a possibility, but I think that AEW is the more likely of the two. But my initial instinct was WWE, because of not only the timing of the situation, but the way that they announced it. I know Okada said some nice things in the announcement about his time in New Japan, which he's a professional, he's going to do. But this whole thing seems to be a bit shady, and they claimed that it was an amicable split, but it doesn't sound like it was an amicable split. And with New Japan getting ahead of the story and announcing it first, it just kind of seems like either AEW heisted, Will Ospreay. What I mean by that is like New Japan did not want to lose him, and AEW made the better offer, and New Japan got ahead of the story before AEW could announce it themselves, or WWE did that. Either way, I don't think that this whole thing was it didn't seem like this whole thing is roses. I'll just say that. Okay, pissed off JD is back. JD internet is back. JD, if you get kicked off a third time, I shot you the link in Twitter. You can just call in on your phone and do no video, and that way you can you might be a little bit better off. But go ahead, JD. Try again. Speak on Okada leaving.
I don't even know where we are. So when we got, I will go back to where I was, because I have no idea what you've been talking about the last 2 minutes. We have good numbers tonight too, which is just perfect. So anyways, we got our message. We both heard in the same time what happened, and a mutual friend of ours was like, we all kind of thought the same thing, right? That he has to be WWE bound, because it did not seem, I heard you talking about wine and roses. It does not seem like New Japan is all thrilled by this. And there seems to be a complete shift with how they handle the Ospreay thing. But I also think it's different. Like, I think Ospreay fills a different role in New Japan than Okada does. Right. This is major, man. Like I said, this could be the story of the year.
It's the way the time, the language in the announcement. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but it seems like New Japan's a little pissed about this. Like, and I think New Japan, they expect Gaijins to kind of leave like that. I don't think, and I don't think that they expected this from Okada. They got rid of that Obari guy. They put Tanahashi as the president. It is possible that they thought that those changes that they made at the top, that they were hopeful that Okada would stay because of those changes, and then he's still leaving. And I wonder if there's a little bit of resentment from the New Japan side, not only towards Okada but towards anybody that does sign him.
No, I 100% think you're right. I think there's definitely some bitter feelings from the New Japan side, because it really does feel like a lot of these changes were done not just to appease Okada, excuse me, but to appease the locker room in general, because it didn't seem like Obari was very popular. So I think apparently my name is Pusha T, and I'm going to lose it again.
No, if as long as your audio is good, that's all that we care
All
about.
right.
So
I'm just so frustrated.
You just keep talking. You keep talking.
All right. So I mean, like, it doesn't seem quite as acrimonious. It doesn't seem quite as harmonious of a split as before. But I gotta say, I don't think anything like this has probably happened since 2000, right? When Misawa and them left to form Noah. But I don't think it's never happened where a top Japanese star has left for an American company, which is where he's going. I mean, there's nowhere else he could be going. He's either going to one or the other, right? And let's be honest, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the yen is down, right? Mm-hmm. Economically, Japan has not bounced back from COVID. And like, I don't know what New Japan can do right now other than rebuild around young talent. Maybe it's the right time for Okada to go.
You know, that was one thing that we had talked about, was that maybe Okada needs to go away for a little bit just to give these, Ren Narita and Uemura and Yota Tsuji and Shota Umino, give these guys time at the top, and then he can come back as kind of like a returning legend hero, and then have another run in New Japan. But it doesn't seem like those guys are quite ready yet for that top spot. Now they still got Naito, right? I mean, Tanahashi's basically shot at this point, but as far as the top goes, they still got Naito. They just lost Ospreay. They lost Jay White last year. It's going to be a tough year in New Japan, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. And you know what the situation actually really reminded me of? I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. The same thing happened with Cody Rhodes, right? And AEW got the announcement ahead of Cody essentially returning to WWE. They actually announced it on their Twitter, and it was kind of like this ominous announcement. Like, we knew his contract was coming up. Same situation with Okada. We knew Okada's contract was coming up, and it had been out there. And part of the negotiating, we were like, he's talking to other sides, and then all of a sudden the company announces, hey, he's not coming back. The same thing happened with Okada just now. And the parallels are kind of amusing, and we'll see who actually gets him, man. But a lot of people are in the chat that want to talk about it. Josiah says Okada's keeping all his dates in February in New Japan. Yeah, I mean, look, they do business the right way in Japan. So, I mean, I know it hasn't always been that, but they typically do business the right way. So, John Muse, I'm taking Tony's tweets as a hopeful sign that AEW got Okada. And name cannot be blank said, hope this doesn't mean that Okada isn't on the Chicago card.
He is not on the Chicago card. That is not going to happen.
No, and nor was he announced for the Chicago card. They did one of the things that they did that they typically don't do for these New Japan Strong shows. They announced the card ahead of time, and he wasn't announced. It's Naito versus Moxley and Mustafa Ali versus Hiromu Takahashi, and Eddie Kingston probably is taking on Gabe Kidd. I don't know if that one has been announced, but that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the W the Brain has a good one too, and I think this is an interesting comment. I'll pull it up. He says, if Okada goes to AEW, at what point does New Japan get fed up with losing all their talent to their partner in AEW? Yeah. I don't know that they need the relationship, but as everyone just leaves. See, here's the thing. If they can't afford to keep these guys, what do you do? Because let's be honest, have you looked at New Japan's ticket sales as of late? They're not great. Like, they are not in a good spot. And if they can't afford it, in theory, you're better with them with AEW than with WWE. Right. And I don't think, there we go. I had to just fix my camera. And I think that we have to understand that we look at this as like, we always look at this through the Vince lens of things, of like that they're taking their talent, taking the talent. again, when it came to Will Ospreay, if you can't afford them anymore, you have a relationship. It's better to have the guy go somewhere friendly than somewhere you're not friendly. Because if they go to WWE, he's out of the picture, which is why the press release led me to believe that it was possibly WWE. But again, we heard, it's not just you and I reading tea leaves. We've actually heard from people that are saying, and I don't want to name names, but I mean, like, they're saying it's going to be AEW. And I mean, like, I'm sure New Japan can't be thrilled with it, but at the same time, it sounds like Okada the fight reports that Okada sat down and they sat to negotiate with Okada, and Okada's just kind of like, I don't want to do it. I want to go somewhere else. Yeah. What do you do at that point if you're New Japan? Like, do you get mad at another company for being willing to pay your guy? I mean, like, isn't AEW's got to be looked at as the lesser of two evils?
Yeah, but I always think back to my time in Korea, and there was always this one guy. There was this one guy in Korea. He was like an MMA fighter. He actually fought there locally in Seoul, but he was just a guy on base, and he was a friend of ours. But he had this habit of going after guys' girlfriends. And one by one, it kept happening to guy after guy after guy, and nobody would learn. They're like, hey, look, he's here. Don't bring your girlfriend around this guy. That's Mr. Steal Your Girl. And he just kept doing it. At some point, New Japan's probably going to be like, I don't think I want to send that guy over there because he might not ever come back. I mean, it happened with Takeshita and DDT. They sent Takeshita on an excursion, and now he's only coming back for special shows. I mean, because AEW can pay them a lot more. But, at some point, you're going to be like, maybe I shouldn't send him over there. Like, TNA, they sent over, W. Morrissey to do a shot against Wardlow, and that brother just never came back. They got a good look at him, to go like, hey, let's meet this guy. Let's work him out a little bit. His contract's coming up soon, and TNA fell for it. And they did the same thing when she's there. Of course, that was like 2 years later. But you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying that AEW is acting in bad faith or not. Like, these contracts are coming due. They're negotiating. It's competition. But at some point, you're going to be like, oh, man, do I really want to keep sending my talent over there to let Tony get a good look at him? The same thing happened in 1984. In a much shadier way, by the way, much shadier way than what Vince was doing. He's like, hey guys, we got this platform on USA Network. Why don't you just send me all your tapes and and we'll play them to our audience. So when really he was grooming his audience to get to know these talents. And then eventually he took them. Now, they didn't have contracts back then, and he would actually actively pay people to blow off dates for those companies. As far as we know, Tony Khan has not done that, although there have been guys they've signed on the indies that have blown off dates, but he hasn't really done that to like a partner or anything like that. So it's not the same, but there are similarities in some of the situations.
But I think it all, and here's the thing with WWE too, though, back when they were doing that with All America, that's why they called the show All America, the train, of course. Yeah. That's why they call it All American Wrestling, is because they showed wrestling from all of America, right? Now, here's the thing with in your job, they're gonna be like, well, they want to like. If you're not a full-time contracted talent, when I say full-time contract, I mean a full-time employee. Wrestling has this gross tendency to label their guys as independent contractors. And I don't understand how that creates loyalty to a company. I'll never understand that, right? If a company can't really treat.
Holy shit, did I just lose JD again? I think I just lost JD again. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, thank you to all the 29 people in that are watching live right now. I'm gonna go back to the chat and then we'll keep talking Okada. Mel Gray from the Power Bombshells podcast over on the Fight Game Media Network says Okada and the Young Bucks have a super long history. People can't discount how they adopted him as friends back in the day. I think that's a good point. Other than Shinsuke Nakamura has already taken to, I believe, his Instagram and tagged Okada, said when you coming over. Okada then liked the post. So he does have a Nakamura over there who's kind of like he's the template, right? And whether that template is good or bad, I'll leave it up to you. But Nakamura, was pretty beat up during his run in New Japan, and then he got to the age 35, 36. And was like, I want to make a lot of money and I don't want to have all these crazy matches. And so he went to WWE, and he's never been a top guy. He had a big WrestleMania match, but he's always been like upper middle card, and he's being paid very well. And I know he re-signed his contract, and he appears to be very happy there. So like you can go to WWE and be happy depending on what you want out of your life, depending on what kind of career, what you want your career to look like. And I think Nakamura is the template if Okada wants to go over there. As far as like, hey, you can make it in WWE. Now Okada is a much better wrestler. He's a much bigger star than Nakamura. And so I think that if they did bring it over Okada WWE, they would have to pay him top guy money. And if they're paying him top guy money, they're going to have to use him as if you were a top guy. And whether or not they'd be willing to do that, I don't know. But, people want to point towards, WWE's tendencies under the old regime as if that's still what would happen currently. And I just don't know. I think they would probably use Okada better now than they did with Nakamura. Certainly better than they ever did with Tozawa. And you can name some of the other Japanese talents that have come through there. I think Okada gets used better than all of them because of the amount of money you would have to pay him. So